Did you know the human eye can see about 10 million colors and everybody sees color a little differently? Hello everybody, I'm Spencer Nugent. Welcome back to Adobe Live, and this is part 5 of my 8-part series, and today we're going to talk about color. Even when I'm designing something on paper, I use colors with my markers to show emphasis. I might even use color to show materials or important functional parts of a design or idea. We're going to jump into Illustrator and look at some fun explorations and concepts that will help you no matter what design project you're working on. The first thing you need to think about when talking about color is color space. Depending on what you might be doing, you might look at using a certain color set like CMYK or RGB or HSB. First thing I want to point out is that the human eye can see millions of colors. Think about the things that you see in real life. We can see and appreciate a lot of colors, but not everything we appreciate and see can necessarily be reproduced on paper or other media. For example, screens, if you're doing something like a user experience design or editing digital photos, you might consider working in an RGB color space. The way RGB works is you have pixels on the screen that are illuminated usually by a backlight. In Illustrator, for example, you'll see that there's a color palette, and mixing these colors will result in white if you mix 100% red, 100% green, and 100% blue. To get this result on the right, all I have to do is pick these colors and change the transparency mode to screen, and you'll see you get a similar result. Something on paper that's printed is going to be mixing pigments to get that cyan, yellow, magenta, and black. And something on the screen is actually using light being projected through those pixels to hit your eyes. To approximate this in Illustrator, all I'd have to do is just select these colors. I have cyan, yellow, and magenta here. Here's the color mixer palette and what it typically looks like. And if I switch my blending mode to multiply, I get an approximation of what is happening here. I do want to point out that in Adobe Illustrator, there are tools to help you make sure that your colors are what is called in gamut. In gamut means that when you go to print, or if you're showing something, say, on the web, those colors can be reproduced accurately as you're designing. Something to pay attention to: if I select a color and say it's too saturated, too bright, and would not be reproduced on paper, you'll get a warning here with this triangle sign with the exclamation point. You click this button and Illustrator will fix it for me. The next thing I want to talk about with color is the color wheel. Now, a color wheel is a look at primary, secondary, tertiary colors, and kind of sets it up in a relationship where you can see complementary colors, analogous, and compare and contrast them together. In this wheel, for example, I have here arranged several colors going from yellow all the way back to yellow. When it comes to the color wheel, it's a little bit easier for me to talk about hue, saturation, and brightness. A hue refers to which segment or area on this wheel you might be dealing with. This orange, for example, has a certain value in terms of the hue, saturation, and brightness, as you can see in the color palette over here. This color wheel is divided into 12 segments, and opposite on each end of the color wheel, we have primary colors. These colors are colors that contrast each other or complement each other. For example, yellow complements purple, orange complements blue, green complements red. We can identify and describe colors as being analogous within the same family or range of the hue spectrum. We can describe colors as being monochromatic within the same hue range, but differing in value. If I desaturate these colors, here we can see we have a green, but the brightness or the value of that green is deeper. Some colors feel warm and some colors feel cool. We associate certain colors with certain things in real life. And because colors have these associations that we pull from real life, we can do some interesting things, for example, when we combine them with type. In this case, if I assign blue to the word hot, there's almost a discomfort or tension. If I assign red to the word cool, there's that kind of tension or discomfort because in real life you might be making that association. Assigning red to the word hot feels more appropriate, as does assigning the color blue to the word cool. And with color wheels, we can invert the colors or make them inverse, which gives us an interesting result. You can desaturate these colors, play with the values, and come up with interesting combinations. With color messaging, colors can show distance or relative position. For example, in this photograph, you can see that off in the distance, the colors look more desaturated, and the mountains that are a bit closer show more detail and more saturation. You can take this concept and use it with simple shapes or text or other elements in your design. Here I have two shapes, and placing one shape in front of the other while having the colors flipped kind of creates a little bit of tension, similar to what I showed you with the words hot and and cool. If I take these shapes and simply hold Alt, duplicate them, and switch the position of these shapes, this placement of the shapes feels a bit more familiar. If I take these shapes and duplicate and drag them over, and then change the order of these shapes, we're going to bring one to the front. The more saturated shape, even though they're the same, feels like it's closer to us than the one that's desaturated. Next, colors can create emphasis. Here I have two rectangles with two circles in front of them. Notice how it's really hard to not see the red circle against the black rectangle as opposed to the gray circle in front of the black rectangle. Colors can also play tricks on our eyes. Which of these orange squares on the inside of these larger squares is a different value, or are they the same? If I take these two rectangles and pick the color on the left and I pick the color on the right, they appear the same color. Same thing here on the bottom. When you place certain colors against other colors, you can change the appearance of that color to someone else. Colors can also be used to convey moods. As I think about what color might convey something happy, I might think of something bright, something airy, something free, and definitely on the lighter side. These colors to me feel kind of happy. And if I want to make these colors more sad, I would simply desaturate the color and lower the value. These are loud colors because they call for your attention. Take a minute and try this exercise for yourself. See if you can create some word associations with colors. This is going to help you build your skills. And as you work, you can play with colors, and the juxtaposition of those colors might create interesting combinations for you. If I walked up to a restaurant and it said yummy and had this kind of pale green color, I might not think that it's a very appetizing place to eat. Now I've put together this file for you to try out. Feel free to modify, adjust things, play with them as well. And hopefully this has been a help for you. I do want to introduce you to Adobe Color. It's a wonderful tool that you can use if you're trying to create your own color scheme or try to find some color inspiration. You can select your color harmony. For example, if I want to find complementary colors, I can select complementary and drag this arrangement of colors around the wheel. And you'll see here that I have values that are spitting out hex values for me. I can also export this to my library that I can use those colors in my actual work in Adobe Illustrator. When I go back to Adobe Illustrator here, open up my libraries, I can right click and hit add theme to swatches, and now I have all these wonderful colors here. Be sure to check out Adobe Color. That's color.adobe.com. Play around a bit. I think one of the best ways to learn is just by experimenting and making mistakes. All right, that's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you had fun. I did. And I'll be back with more content. I'm easy to find online. I am at sketchaday.com on Instagram, or you can visit my website at www.sketchaday.com. Just don't forget the dashes. Be sure to like and subscribe. We have more amazing content coming your way. I'll see you next time. Take care and stay creative.